Hello everyone, Earl Henderson, Primordial Defense. Thank you for watching. I have another Monday quarterback video for you. I'm going to play the entirety of this video without any interruptions, and then I'll go back and talk about things that I think were done right, done wrong, and just talk about things to better explain what's going on. Without further ado, here we go.
Good afternoon. I'm Assistant Sheriff John McGrath. I'm here to brief you on additional details as we know them today about the officer-involved shooting that occurred on Thursday, January 6th, 2022. This is officer-involved shooting number 1 for 2022, fatal number 1. The same time last year, we had 0 OISs. This event was initiated as a burglary at 10:26 a.m. on January 6th. The address given was a 6700 block of Francis Celia Avenue, Las Vegas. This officer-involved shooting occurred near the intersection of South Broadbent Boulevard and Cherry Street, which is in Southeast Area Command. The involved officer is Jason Guerra. He is 40 years old and has been with the LVMPD since 2005. In this incident, Officer Guerra was armed with a Glock 17 9mm handgun equipped with a tactical light. The investigation revealed he fired 4 rounds during this incident. Officer Guerra is assigned to the Community Policing Division, Southeast Area Command. The suspect in this event is identified as Ricardo Antonio Otero. He was a 30-year-old Hispanic male, adult, 5'6", 170 pounds. He is pictured to my left. In this incident, Otero was armed with a large, fixed-blade hunting-style knife. Otero's charges, if he had survived, are attempt burglary while in possession of a deadly weapon, violation of an extended protective order, resisting police officer with a weapon, and attempt murder on a police officer. The details of this officer-involved shooting are as follows. On Thursday, January 6, 2022, the LVMPD Dispatch Center received a call from a citizen reporting an in-progress burglary in the 6700 block of Francis Celia Avenue. The caller stated that his son, Ricardo Antonio Otero, was armed with a knife and was attempting to break into the house. Dispatch was advised that Otero was last seen walking out of the area, and his description was provided to officers. Due to the fact that Otero was reportedly armed with a knife, the call was classified as a STAR protocol de-escalation. The criteria for STAR protocol de-escalation is as follows. There is credible information that the subject is armed with a firearm or other dangerous weapon and is using it in a manner that can cause death or serious bodily injury. The subject is acting in a threatening manner with the weapon. This does not include open carry subjects or pocket knives. This designation means that 3 officers and a supervisor will be assigned to the call in an attempt to de-escalate a volatile situation. As officers were en route to this call, they requested medical personnel to stage nearby. Arriving patrol officers spotted Otero on the sidewalk near the intersection of Broadbent Boulevard and Cherry Street. Several patrol officers, including Officer Jason Guerra, conducted a pedestrian stop on Otero. An officer told Otero to step in front of his patrol vehicle, but Otero refused to listen to the officer. Otero dropped a backpack he was carrying and continued to ignore all verbal commands from the officer. Otero then produced a large hunting-style knife and started running towards Officer Guerra. Officer Guerra began to walk backwards, attempting to create distance from Otero while telling him to drop the knife. Otero refused to drop the knife and continued to close the distance between them. Otero then charged at Officer Guerra while holding the large knife in his hand. Officer Guerra discharged his duty weapon 4 times, striking Otero, causing him to fall to the ground. Otero was transported to Sunrise Hospital by medical personnel, where he succumbed to his injuries. I will now play you the 911 audio and then the body-worn camera from this officer-involved shooting.
Emergency spelling 17200, please.
I need a metro over here in my house.
What's your address? Zero?
Press button. Yeah, it's my son.
What's the street name?
Okay. Huh?
Sir? What's the street name?
We got a knife.
Sir, hello? Hello? Hello?
We got a knife. He's trying to get inside my
Okay,
house.
sir, what's the street name though? I don't know what street you're on. What's he doing with the knife?
He's trying to get inside the house.
Okay,
Yes, he got a knife.
is he threatening anyone with it? Is he threatening anyone with it?
Yeah, somebody. He tried to break in the house.
With the knife? This is your son?
Yeah, this is my son. He's on drugs.
John 34 TV arrest.
2 John 34 TV.
John 6. We're going to go out on a possible at Broadbent and Cherry. HMA, gray hat, gray sweatshirt, tan pants, and a black backpack.
2 John 6, copy.
This is J3. I copy several minutes. It's going to be over.
Ricardo, we need you to listen. That's it, all right? Listen to what they're saying.
ME53, go ahead.
2 Sam Robert David 151 California. On the front of this RV belongs to her.
Drop the knife, Ricardo. Drop the knife! Drop the knife! Drop the knife! Ricardo! Drop the knife! Drop the knife! Ricardo! Drop the knife!
This concludes this briefing for the OIS. Go ahead.
Had you had problems with this particular person before, if there was a temporary restraining order against him?
So I'm not going to go into his criminal history, but as his father told us that he has some mental health issues, and we had dealt with him when he was in crisis before.
Was the TPO filed by the family in that house?
Yes.
Can you explain to us, even though he's got a knife, how quickly he can close that gap between the officer and himself? If he's got a knife, how quickly that officer could have been hurt?
Maybe we can, oh, he's already ahead of me. So where the officer parked, he was 41 feet away from where the subject dropped the backpack. And then he's at a position behind his car door, which is where we train our officers. And then he backed off 75 feet. And if you saw his body-worn camera, he tripped a little bit over the curb, went all the way up to the wall. When he was his back was against the wall, that's when he fired his weapon. He couldn't retreat any further, and the subject was 12 feet away from him approximately when he discharged his rounds. If we kept playing the body-worn camera, you would have seen the suspect charge at the officer even more, but we didn't show that part where he shot.
Can you talk about the de-escalation techniques that they're trying to implement right there?
So we started off with the STAR protocol, which means we have more officers there. Generally, when people see more officers, they don't go towards them. They usually either give up or run. And in this case, the two officers were in the one car, which is not pictured, but it's over here. And he immediately went towards the single officer in this car. So de-escalation means getting officers there. Part of this STAR protocol is getting medical there. We get assistance as soon as possible if some kind of use of force happens. And then backing off as far as you can. In this case, because the officer was by himself and he didn't have the opportunity to use another tactic other than deadly force. Usually we'd try to put an action team together and use less lethal options. They just, in this case, didn't, there wasn't enough time. From the time he dropped the backpack until shots were fired was 31 seconds. And we didn't get a sergeant there. That's required on this call, but the sergeant never made it to the call. It was too far away, and it happened too quickly.
About how long from the time of the request for police to be out there to the time they arrived, about how long of a time period was that?
12 minutes.
And he was threatening his family?
Yes, he threatened him in the past and was trying to break into the house with the knife. And it sounded like to me that the dad told him I called the police. And he went through the backyard, jumped the wall onto Broadbent, and that's when we found him. Thanks, everybody. I really appreciate you guys coming out here today.
Okay. Let's get into it. So this dude, his own family, he has threatened them before, and he is trying to break into their house with this knife, and they have to call 911. That sucks. Obviously, they don't go into details about the family and everything that's going on with this guy's life and everything. But, you know, I've been around the block couple times, been involved in the criminal justice system for a while, and I can tell you that this ain't like the first time that he's ever encountered police. And with him threatening his family and stuff like that, I'd say this guy has probably been involved on the wrong side of the law for a good amount of time. I would not have any surprise whatsoever if it came out that this guy had some type of juvenile record as well. I would also say that this guy probably has some type of substance abuse problem. He's probably addicted to drugs. It sucks that his family has to go through this. It really does. Now, the cause of it all, don't know. Usually, you know, you see stuff with bad homes and stuff like that. But, you know, drugs are not, they're equal opportunity. They really are. They can snatch anyone from any lifestyle. It's not just the impoverished, broken homes type of areas that, you know, drugs will take a person from. Even your middle class to upper class, like, drugs can snatch a person and make them do stupid shit. But I'd say he's been involved, like I said, for several years, probably been on drugs for several years, and has probably, I would imagine, has probably taken advantage of the family for quite some time. You know, probably mom and grandma bonding him out of jail and giving him money wherever he wants. That's usually what happens with people like this. The briefing
as follows. On Thursday, January 2nd, an attempt murder on a police officer. Burglary while in possession of a deadly weapon. Command. The suspect in this event is identified.
So I like how they, I can't remember exactly where it's at, but I like how they say this is OIS number 1 or number 2 or number 3 for that year. I like how they kind of keep track of it and they let the public know which incident this is, how many police involved shootings there has been for this year. I think that's good transparency. I think the public needs to know that stuff. However, I also think that they kind of fail with some transparency stuff, especially here towards the end when the media starts asking questions and they ask him about the guy's criminal background, and he says he won't go into that. I really don't like that. I think that's something the public should know. If they want to know it, then they should be able to know it. I don't think that, he should hide that information from them. Of course, the media can do open records and get that information, but still, that's a long process. Like, it would be nicer and simpler if this guy could just tell them what this dude's criminal background is like. And I think that would
Identified as
put things in perspective for the community and help them better understand what's going on. He talks about their I forget what they call it, something STAR de-escalation protocol, something or another, that involves sending at least 3 officers and a supervisor to a call like this. I think that's a pretty good approach to a person like this, making sure that you have adequate amount of people arriving on scene. Now, as far as ensuring how they get multiple people on scene at once, I don't know how they do that. I don't know if they tell them to say, hey, if you're the first officer and you're super close and you're going to get there before everyone else, hold off until someone else gets there, or if they go ahead and let that one person go ahead and get there. Obviously, if someone's super close and they go ahead and get there before everyone else does, that obviously defeats the whole mindset of having multiple people there once, and it wouldn't work very well. I do think that this is a decent approach to de-escalate a person, because he's right. When there's multiple people there, people kind of tend to be less fucking badass. They tend to be a little bit less froggy and aren't so inclined to want to do stupid shit when they're outnumbered, basically. So show of force, I think, is a good thing. And that is a use of force right there, is your presence. And so if your only use of force in the use of force continuum can be the presence of 2 to 3 officers showing up at once and putting it in someone's mind like, oh, there's 3 of them. I guess I don't want to mess around now. If you can do that and prevent anything from going any further, then hell yeah, you just de-escalated it. So I like that tactic. Now, the one thing I'm not the biggest fan of is this. So they're creating basically a potential for crossfire at this point. Back it up even more. So this is the first vehicle to come to a stop. This guy who's driving is going to go past them and turn around and stop on the other side. Not the biggest fan of that.
Backpack.
队长先看。
This is where I copy several minutes.
So now like I said, now there is potential for crossfire to occur. I think it would have been a lot better if he just would have stopped out in here somewhere. Of course, they would have been blocking traffic a lot more, but I think it would have been better if they would have stopped here, or if he would have stopped here, and then they all could have been on the same side. I don't think it's any coincidence that he decided to avoid 2 officers and then go towards 1 officer. I mean, it's pretty obvious to me why he chose to go this way. Because this officer was by himself. He was an easier picking for this guy. He knew that he couldn't go up on 2 very easily. He could go up on 1 a little bit more easily. So that's another reason why I think it would have been better if he would have stopped in the road beside these other officers.
Ricardo, we need you to listen.
So he seems to be complaining about having a taser pointed at him, it sounds like.
That's it, all right? Listen to what they're saying.
Maybe 53, go ahead.
Now, this officer is starting to put his gloves on.
2 Sam Robert David 151 California.
He gets one
On the
glove
front
on,
of this RV, not sure if it belongs to it or not.
Drop the knife, Ricardo. Drop the
and that's it. That's all he's able to get on is just one glove. And then he's actually got the other glove, I think, in his hand. You can see the cuff of it sticking out.
On the front of this RV, not sure if it belongs to it or not.
Drop the knife, Ricardo.
He also steps forward and hits the lock on his door and shuts the door. That way this guy just can't get in his car and take off. Because that, unfortunately, happens more than it should. People jumping in police cars and taking off. That really makes for a crappy-ass day when the police have to chase another police car. And it's a fast car. It's got weapons inside of it. And it's hella confusing for the community when they see a police car pit maneuvering another police car and then shooting at it. That just doesn't look good at all. So I like how he had the mindset to go ahead and lock that door and shut it. That way he can back away and not have any worry about this guy being able to very easily open this door and get in and then take off with a fast vehicle that doesn't have a governed chip in it, can go full speed, and probably has a rifle in the rack right there. I think it would have been a better tactic if he would have put his gloves on before ever arriving on scene. So obviously while he's driving, he's handling the radio and stuff like that. It's certainly feasible, I believe, to be able to slide some gloves on as you're driving down the road. It's not that hard. There's nothing to it. I think he could have done that while they were going to this call. That way, when he get out, both hands would have gloves on them the way he wants, versus trying to put them on in the heat of the moment, and then dude starts rushing at you. So he only gets one glove on, and he has the other glove still in the hand, and it's kind of cupped in between here, and you can see the rest of it sticking out here. And then this guy comes towards him.
Drop the knife! Drop the knife! Drop the knife! Ricardo! Drop the knife!
So pay attention to the curb right here.
Knife! Drop the knife! Ricardo!
And he mentioned in the news release that he almost stumbled over it, or kind of stumbles over it. And this is one of the downsides to moving backwards. You can't see behind you. And so you increase your risk of potentially falling and going down to the ground. And that's generally not a place you want to be. You don't want to be on the ground, especially when someone's advancing on you like that. But luckily he recovers pretty well, and his back hits the wall.
Ricardo! Drop the knife!
Not only does it hit the wall, but this guy charges fast. Now, watch right behind him as this first round is fired.
Drop the knife!
I might not be able to pause it in time, but check right behind him. That first round fired misses.
Ricardo! Drop the knife!
All right, you can see that dust plume right back there. So that first round missed this guy, and then his other rounds that he fired end up hitting. Now, they stop the video, and they say that he continues to charge at the officer and he has to shoot some more, but they don't show that. They end it pretty early. I don't know how many rounds he ended up firing, but that first round absolutely missed.
Ricardo! Drop the knife!
Probably see it better in the slow-mo here. Well, maybe. Yeah. So, I mean, right there. Back it up a little bit more. Yeah. So, I mean, right, misses him. You still see the plume back there. Now, as I've talked about before, misses occur within shootings, especially when you're dealing with a pistol that has a short barrel and you only got 2 points of contact on that gun. There's going to be misses. Now, in training, we talk about every round that you fire, you're accountable for. Every round that leaves your gun has your name on it. But the fact of the matter is, in dynamic scenarios like this, dynamic life or death scenarios, misses are going to occur. The remedy for this is more training and maybe some better gear or accessories. So we can see that he has factory stock sights. Factory stock sights on the Glock work right out the box. You can buy a brand new Glock, take it out of the box, shoot it, and it'd be accurate. They work. The gun works. Lots of people have shot people with factory sights. They work. But can you have something better? Absolutely, you can have something better. A set of sights that I recommend people to get are XS big dot sights. Those are more of a combat style of sight. You basically have a big dot up here in front, and you kind of have it's a rear sight, but it's not a notch kind of sight. It's more of a sort of a V-shaped kind of rear sight with a little mark right there in the middle, and you basically just put that big ball on top of that little mark and press trigger, and you put rounds on target. I've been through force-on-force training classes, and I can tell you that the Glock blue model training Glocks that have the factory sights on them compared to the sim guns that have the XS big dot sights on them, the ones that have the XS big sights on them, you perform a lot better with. I can tell you that for sure. The big dot is just easier to pick up under stress, and it's just faster to put that dot on the target and then fire versus trying to line these sights up, a notch and post sight up perfectly. Also, red dot sights. Of course, red dot sights are an emerging trend. Not every agency is able to afford them or get them out there to the patrol guys, but when you do training, you can see that it can be some better accuracy with the guys who run red dots. If you've ever shot red dot on a rifle, same concept with the pistol. You just put the dot on the person and squeeze trigger. There's no lining shit up. You just put the dot on them and squeeze the trigger, and it can be a lot more accurate and get rounds on target better. So that's the accessory part. The other part is the training part. Have enough trigger time to be very proficient with your skills. You can most certainly run stock sights on a Glock and be able to make good hits under stress, so long as you've trained and practiced for it. Now, not much else to say about this video. If you like what you hear and see, go ahead and give me a like and a share. If you haven't already, hit that subscribe button and stay tuned for more Monday quarterback videos. Earl Henderson, Primordial Defense. Thank you for watching.